load of gravel.
We thought buying our new home in the Philippines, that was going to be the hard part of the equation. We really had no idea what was going to come next because they do things differently, especially in a subdivision out here in the Philippines, different than the West. So today, it's going to be the beginning of turning this kind of project into our dream home and finishing up this dream home. And as you know, we finally finished the inside of our new home just a few weeks ago. And we're so excited because it came out terrific. If you want to see that, check out the other videos on our channel. But it didn't take long for us to realize that buying the house, that was just the beginning of the project. Because you basically just get an empty house. So you have to finish it off. And that includes the kitchen, the bathrooms. It really comes, completely unfurnished, but not just that, very minimal. There's no cabinets and that type of thing. So now comes the part where you're going to turn that home into something that we really were hoping for and dreaming about. And that's what we're going to do over the next several months. That's what this project's going to take on the outside of the house. And we're going to be taking you along with us as we transform the outside of the property. It'll be exciting. There's a lot that we're going to do, and it's going to significantly change from what we have today. For example, we're going to build a perimeter fence. And we'll get into the reasons why. Some of the things may be obvious. Some of it may not be what you think. But we're going to do a perimeter fence around the property. And once the fence is in, that's where we're going to start. We're going to add a driveway. And once the driveway and the fence is in, we're going to add a carport up on top. And then in the back of the property, we're going to cement around it. And it'll also have walls and a ceiling. And then we're going to create an outdoor kitchen and utility area. And one of the reasons that we need to do that is that the homes in the Philippines are not built with closets. They don't have a lot of storage space. So you have to create that yourself in the way you furnish your home, the way you build out, custom cabinets and add wardrobes. And you need to basically finish off the space because that's where you're going to spend so much of your time, living outdoors. Like for us, the final kind of like cherry on the top is going to be a gazebo that we build with the deck, and that'll be at the end of the carport. And that'll be an area we'll put up lights and we'll hang out and chairs and be a cool place to barbecue and all that kind of thing. So this series really isn't about construction, though I'll show you every step along the way and you'll see how they do it and build it. But it's really about building that dream. It's about answering the questions that so many future expats have, right? Like, why do so many homeowners build a perimeter fence around the property? Why do some go in subdivisions and others buy a lot and then build? And what is this outdoor kitchen thing that we don't really do in the States? And this utility area that they build outside of the house and the back part of the property. Why is that so common? And what is it used for? We're going to answer all of those questions and why it's done this way here. There are reasons. And what does it really take to turn your house into a comfortable long-term retirement home that you can have for years to come in and out of, travel to? Maybe it's a second home for you, whatever that you want to do. But we're going to answer all those things. It's more about the dream that we're building here and why we put it together the way we put it together. And, for us, one of the biggest reasons for doing all of these things is to build peace of mind. There's certain steps in this process that we do purposely because we plan to travel. We're not going to be here all the time. So we want to make sure that the property is safe when we're not here. And we plan to travel both around the Philippines and at times back and forth to the US. We may be gone a month at a time. We want to build into our equation the ability to lock the door and leave. And that's very much why we chose where we chose. We want to know that this property is secure, and that includes our Ford Ranger truck, right? We don't want to leave it on the street, not that it wouldn't be safe, but we're creating a driveway and a carport and a gate, so it's all locked up while we're gone, and we don't have to worry about it. Oh, we'll probably install a security camera and all of that, but we really don't need to. We've got 24/7 guard security here in Royal Palms Cuatro and Dawi, Bohol. Dawi is part of the Panglao Island, which is just a bridge across from the city of Tagbilaran. But we also wanted someone to work with that had experience in high quality projects that could lead this project, because we heard plenty of stories where things went wrong, where people tried to save money, had a friend of a friend or a friend of a family, and they weren't a licensed contractor and things went wrong. So we used a very high quality, reputable contractor. In fact, our contractor has completed many of the major outdoor projects like carports and patios and backyards in this subdivision of Royal Palms Cuatro here in the Panglao area of Bohol. And the advantage is he has the local knowledge, right? He's worked with the developers here to know what the rules are as far as when you put in the foundation for a fence and you have the property line, where do you put the footings? There's rules about that are part of the HOA and the subdivision that you have to follow, and how deep these holes need to be for the foundation of the fence. So it just gives us a lot more confidence to know that we've got someone that's been tried and true, and that we've talked to referrals, we have friends that have used them, and he's very, very good. Well, it's Monday afternoon of the first week, and we're kicking off the project. The crew has just arrived just to start this whole thing up. They've been unloading equipment, and they've been bringing it from the truck and kind of bringing it in. They've gone around the perimeter of the property, and they've done the layout. They've taken the measuring tape out and gone through the different markers and where the property is marked, and they've laid out where the perimeter fence is going to go. And after months of planning, today, the real work will finally begin. We're super excited to kick this off and can't wait to get this second part of our home project that's been part of our dream to build this house going. So the first step is going to be they really need to dig down deep the foundations for each of the fence posts, because off of the fence and about probably 3/4 of the property, there's also going to be some type of a ceiling to either give us a utility area or the carport. And so far they've dug down a little bit more than a meter or more. And just for reference, a meter is roughly about 3 feet. And this is where they started in the project. And it sounds simple until you discover that as they dig down, what's underneath. And almost immediately, the crew that was digging hit solid limestone. And the limestone was almost a meter thick. And around here, from what we're told on this Panglao Island, that's completely normal. Which is why they have to use a jackhammer as one of the first tools they bring into the job. So one guy uses the jackhammer to loosen up the soil and break up the rock, and the other guy digs it out with a shovel. Well, once they break through the limestone, the soil underneath it is surprisingly rich and dark, and it holds much more moisture, whereas the limestone is just kind of almost like a filter that just goes right through it. The soil's so rich, and Lynn's just enjoying her garden and doing all this planting now. She's got all kinds of different plants, and I think she's got a lime tree and a lemon tree. And so when she saw this dark, rich soil underneath, down about a meter, she said, I'm going to use that. And so she's already put it into some of her garden and potted plants and all that, and is planning to use that. So it's kind of fascinating to see what's actually below the surface of our property, because we just see the limestone on top, which is always on the way. We go to weed and everything like that. It's just a headache. So it's another reason why we're clearing the land and putting in a lot of concrete and then flower boxes in the garden. So there's some things that we would just never have known until this construction began. I mean, we had no idea that there's dark, rich soil that's underneath the limestone until they dug down that meter. And as they continued to dig, they uncovered parts of the subdivision's drainage system. And so that was interesting to see, because now we can see how they ran the 2 orange drainage pipes that you see here into the central drain system on the street, which ultimately leads across the street and behind the property to a retention pond. You can also see that this is the main water main, right? This is where the water comes in from the street to the house, right, for the home. And as you see, it comes up from the ground and it's galvanized steel. your typical metal piping. But then all of a sudden it transitions to such a smaller diameter plastic water pipe that feeds into the home. It's not like in the West where they either convert it into, PVC plastic, I guess, or copper, one of the two. Anyway, it's very different to see what they use here and how they do it. And I'm not sure why they are going from a much wider pipe to a much more narrow pipe, because that's going to cut some of the flow to the house. I'm tempted to dig all that up and then put a wider pipe to get more flow. Well, anyway, every new discovery just reminds us that these projects are about much more than pouring concrete. There's more to it than that, than just covering everything up. It's more about understanding how a home in the Philippines is really put together, how it's built, and how everything works there, including our septic tank. We don't have sewer to the city, right? So it's a different system. And now with the gravel arriving and the sand soon to follow behind to make the concrete, this project is officially underway. This is only day one, and we've got a long journey ahead of us still to go. But we're excited to kick it off and get started. And we want you to come along with us. So that's where we are. After our first day, we've got these holes dug. We're making progress. And I have to admit, I knew we'd have a few surprises kind of along the way. But I definitely wasn't prepared or expecting to find solid limestone for a full meter once they started digging, and then some interesting topsoil underneath it. This project is going to take several months to complete since there's different phases to it. And we're starting with the perimeter fence and then the driveway. And it's going to completely transform the outside of our home. It's going to look very different than what it does now. But more importantly, I hope it gives you a realistic look as to what it's actually like to own and improve a home here in the Philippines. You can see the process that we go through as it happens. For example, next week, we'll see how the crew handles all of this limestone, getting it out of the way, because there's a lot of holes that have to be dug for the foundation of the fence, and whether they can finish the fence foundations in time to beat the rainy season, as we're just entering it now, and they need to get ahead of it because they're going to actually have to get it all prepared and then pour the concrete to make the columns. So hopefully the weather doesn't get in the way. We'll see what happens. And we'll take a closer look at how these perimeter walls are actually built and why they're such an important part of owning a home here and the overall scheme of things. For example, the back wall is going to be a firewall between our house and the house behind us. And that wall will probably be 3 meters tall. So that's one of the rules that we have here in the complex. So I think you're going to find a few surprises along the way, find things interesting. And there'll be a lot to see as we go from step to step and move through this process. So if you've ever wondered what life is really like after buying a home in the Philippines, well, stay tuned, because I think you're going to really enjoy this series. And it will be a weekly series. Each week I'll release the next episode of where we are and the progress we've made. So make sure that you're subscribed and you hit the notifications button so you can have quick access to the next video in the series. It'll just pop up as a recommended video on your YouTube account. We're going to take you along for every step of this journey from beginning to end, so you see where we start and you'll see where we end. Well, again, I'm Eric with Island Expats. Thanks for spending part of your day with us. We do appreciate it. And we'll see you right here next week on Island Expats for the next video. You guys take care.